Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We just arrived yesterday, especially to be with you, my wife, my lovely wife, Etty, and myself, and a dear friend of us, Ben Willings. So I want to tell you a little bit about everything, okay? I think it was 4 years ago I got it.
Y'all use the microphone,
No, without microphone, they hear me better.
but they can't hear you.
Oh, okay. So 4 years ago, I got a telephone call from my friend Ben, who said, you know, Eyal, you always come to LA, and you always stay in that side of the city. I want to introduce you to a very special community called Westlake. Told him, is it in California? I said, of course, yes. So he invited me here and introduced me to Rabbi Berkeley. And the rest is history. I fell in love with the rabbi, with his wife, with the two potential gold medalists in the Maccabiah. I became a good ambassador of Westlake community all over. And thank you for making the time for me to be with you. So I'll start with the last year and a half, what we went through. So October 7th was very dramatical for all of us, but for my family it was even more than that. 6:29, the siren in Tel Aviv, we live in Tel Aviv, the center of the country, never had any siren in the last decades. Yeah, all of a sudden siren all over the city and rockets all over the place, and it's 6:29. Then at 9 o'clock, my son-in-law calls me, said, you know, your daughter is in the hospital getting to deliver a baby. I said, we didn't know about it. We knew that she is in the bar, but we didn't know. So 10 o'clock, our grandson was born on October 7th, 2023. Thank you for that. 10 o'clock, and my wife regret because this was the first grandchild that she didn't go to hospital to be with our daughters. 12 o'clock, my son-in-law was called to the army, to the reserve. Yeah? And he was the first one to get with his unit to Gaza. So for the first 4 months, you know, if I have a little hair, it's still white because we had white nights all time. My little daughter came after 3 days from the hospital, and the little one, you know, grew up in the shelter for the first year, because rather than moving back and forth running to the shelter, they accommodated, you know, the bed over there. And what I'm telling you about my family, it crossed the entire country. That's what we went through. But I can tell you that, as Theodore Herzl said, you know, if you will it, it is not a dream. And we knew that we will win eventually. And we did it in a very heroism way. October 7th was very difficult to all of us. A month later, we recovered, and we started to retaliate. And as you know, our region looks now entirely different. Yeah. If in October 6th, we had in the north the Hezbollah, and in the south the Hamas, and we had Iran, you know, a little bit far away, and we had the Syrian border a little bit shakeable. We made the cheshbon, as we say. We knew how to handle them, and one after the other, we destroyed our enemies around us. The situation today in Israel is entirely different. It's a safe country. We weakened the Hamas. We almost disappeared the Hezbollah. Iran is waiting for us in the next few weeks, you know, for very much, and probably it will be soon. Because the Maccabiah will be in the summer, we have to be ready for the games, and everything is coordinated. So the Middle East looks today differently. In in terms of the security, Israel is much more secure than in the last 4 decades. As I said, in the borders, we were very proactive. We didn't wait anymore until they start, until they plan. Every time that there is even, a sign that something is going to happen, Israel retaliates. Whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Lebanon, in Gaza. The only concern that we have today is to return our 59 hostages that are still suffering, torture and anger, and what we hear the stories about it's insane. And I relate it because the Maccabi headquarters in Israel is located to Ramat Gan, which is a suburb of Tel Aviv, and we have the largest tourism center in Israel. In the Kfar Maccabiah, we call it the Maccabiah village. We have 2 hotels, we have a huge convention center, we have the largest sports club in Israel, and we have the Maccabi headquarters. October 7, 6 o'clock in the evening, we realized that, the people from the south, they don't have any place to return because most of the houses were destroyed, burned. We opened our huge hotel and we accommodated 1,000 evacuees from the south in our headquarters. They just came to the reception, they got the key, they went into the room, we didn't charge a penny for it, they said, you are our guest. And we realized that it will be probably for a few weeks. But they ended up staying in our headquarters for at least a year. Okay? A year. They didn't have a place to go back. And they fell in love with our headquarters because all the facilities that we had over there. We opened school in the headquarters for the kids from the south. We opened even classes for people with special needs. Yeah, we brought entertainers, to give them some relief and enjoy a little bit, to overcome the trauma. A year passed by and we started hosting the families of the wounded soldiers. Sheba, which is the main hospital in Israel, it's about 1 mile away from our headquarters. So families were staying in our headquarters and they were able to go to visit their kids, their children, the wounded soldiers in Sheba. Then the families of the hostages came over to stay in Kfar Maccabiah. Today we have 20 families of the hostages that are staying in Kfar Maccabiah. Those families that their dears return to Israel. They stay in Kfar Maccabiah, they don't want to leave our headquarters. If you know the Bibas family, were tortured in Gaza. By the way, the murder was killed today by the Israeli. And we will not leave anyone, alive until we get them all the ones that came over to Israel. So the Bibas family, whatever left from the family, Yarden, stayed as of today in Kfar Maccabiah, and the family. The Shiva, was in Kfar Maccabiah. Thousands of people came over, to pay respects, to the family. And it was very interesting, we accommodated the families of the hostages, and the hostages, we closed 3 floors at the hotel to give them an intimate area that nobody will come and bother them. And they had a special dining room over there, separate one. But after a while, they decided, to go to be like regulars, to go down and sit in the regular dining room. So we are entering into the dining room. And once a week, we serve in Kfar Maccabiah an Israeli dinner. What does it mean Israeli dinner with hummus and falafel and shawarma and so on and so forth? And the sous chef is an Arab guy from Abu Kush, which is nearby. So you see, 4 of the hostages who came after 500 days come into the dining room and they start talking to him Arabic. Yeah, because in the 500 days they learned Arabic. Yeah, and they speak with the sous chef Arabic. We were shocked, you know.
Oh my goodness.
This is the only advantage that they get, that they study the language. Anyway, we are waiting for another 59 to come back, and we hope it will be soon. The government the policy is to put on one end the pressure on the Hamas, on the other end try to negotiate. Hopefully, you know, with the support of the new US regime, we'll be able to do it faster. But this is something that's still, you know, on the first priority of the Israeli people. We know that until they not return, we will not be able to heal from the tragedy. So that's a little bit about the situation in Israel. Economy is getting better. You know, unfortunately, hundreds of thousands of Israelis were drafted into the army for the reserve. They couldn't run their businesses. So slowly, they start now return and recover. The Israeli high-tech business is booming. I don't know if you heard, but 2 weeks ago, we had the biggest deal, the biggest exit in Israel, which a company by the name Wiz was sold to Google, and it was a deal of $32 billion.
Wow.
$32 billion, the biggest ever in Israel. 3 of the founders were 26, 32, and 35. Okay? The day that they made the deal and they signed the deal, they put a huge signage on one of the tallest towers in Tel Aviv, which is the Azrieli Center. I don't know if you know, it's a 40-story building, and they made a special announcement over there. Can you figure out what was written over there? The day that they signed the agreement and they got their first check, what was on the signage on the huge building?
Google.
It was written, there is one more important deal than ours. Deal with the Hamas to bring them back home. That's what was in their mind. So you see that the entire country is about, you know, trying to get the hostages back. Talking about returning to normalcy, so a Maccabiah, it's a symbol for that. What the Maccabiah is all about, you know, and as my dear friend, the brother that I've never had, the
Brother from another mother.
Said, I was the CEO of the organization for 32 years. And when I wanted to retire, they told me, okay, but you stay for another 5 years to run the campaign in North America, mainly in the States. So, you know, this is part of my mission here. The Maccabiah is the Jewish Olympics. Once in 4 years, we run the Maccabiah in Israel, always a year after the Olympics. Why? Because we wanted the Jewish athletes who play at the Olympics will be able to attend the Maccabiah a year later. And you won't believe, you'll be surprised. We have like 20, 30 gold medalists, you know, participating in in the games. So the first set of games was in 1932. It was a while before the country was established. At that time, we had like 750 athletes from 17 countries. It was still the Mendite regime at that time. And in addition to the 750 athletes that came over from 70 countries, there were many fans that came over to cheer them up. At that time, there was a status quo. The Brits didn't let neither Jews nor Arabics to come over to the country. They want to keep the status. No one is coming back. No one is coming because we want to keep it as it is. So, like between the athletes and the supporters, we had like 3,000 people coming to the Maccabiah, and they got a certificate, a temporary certificate to stay in the country for the time of the Maccabiah. The Maccabiah was over. The airport and the seaport were empty. Nobody left the country. They all disappeared in Eretz Israel. They stayed over. So the first two Maccabiot were Maccabiot of Aliyah. Maccabiot that encouraged Jews to come over to the state of Israel. Okay? Since the first Maccabiah in 1932, when we had 750 athletes from 70 countries, we go fast forward to the upcoming Maccabiah in July, in less than 100 days, and we expect over 10,000 athletes from 70 countries.
Wow.
Every single country that there is a Jewish community, even the size of West Tech, we will have representation. Okay? So I'm sitting 2 Maccabiot ago next to Shimon Peres, at that time the president of the state of Israel. And the bodyguard says at the middle of the ceremony, we have to leave now because we have other communities saying, I'm not leaving here because of 2 reasons. First of all, I didn't know that there is a Jewish community in Nicaragua, in Curacao, in Honduras, in Serbia, and so on and so forth. So I want to see them, you know. And secondly, I never heard 10,000 athletes singing a tikva in 28 different dialects. Okay? He said, I have goosebumps. So this is something very meaningful. And when you come to Israel for the Maccabiah, you'll have a lifetime experience. How many of you are coming to Israel? What about the rest? Make the list and we'll take
I'm gonna get them your phone
okay? number. So what the Maccabiah is all about? You know, the perception is you come, you play basketball, you run 100 meters, and that's the story. No. The idea of the Maccabiah is to bring as many Jewish athletes to Israel to have an Israeli experience. So the ceremonies are with great content about Judaism, about Zionism, about Israel, about the culture. Sightseeing throughout the games, Shabbat program, Jerusalem program, Bar Mitzvah and Bat Mitzvah. You know that 48% of the athletes have never been in Israel. I'm not talking about 14 years old, I'm talking about 40 and 50 and 60. The only reason that they come to Israel, they want to play, have a good time, and win a medal, okay? But our agenda is to instill the love of Israel, to let them discover the roots, to be good ambassadors of the country in their own communities. And I'll give you an example. 8 years ago, when we had the Maccabiah, I found out that in the US team there is a very well-known person who is playing squash. And he was staying in Hilton. This is one of the famous hotels in Tel Aviv. I called the hotel, I said I want to meet with Mr. I'll tell you later the name, I want to meet with this and this. They say he's unlisted, so you can leave your name, and if he wants, he will call you. A few hours later, I get the telephone, Mr. Tiberger saying, my name is Riyad, not Mr. Tiberger. I heard that you are looking for me. I say, yeah, I would like to meet with you if possible. He said, how about tomorrow morning? I said, great, I left everything behind, and to organize Maccabiah, it's not a small thing. It's the second largest sport event worldwide. You have to realize, yeah? I left everything aside. I went to Hilton. I met with the guy. And sometimes you need luck in the life. He told me, no, we don't go to the dining room. We go separately to the lounge, in the 17th floor. I want to meet with you intimately. He said, this is the day, rather than just, meet with me and be nice to me and then, leave me alone. The guy, we had a meeting, and, we shared some experiences. And the guy is he's in a vibe. He won the evening before the gold medal in squash. So he was in euphoria. I didn't tell him that I arranged the medal for him because I wanted to meet him. So the guy said, I'm so excited to be here with so many, friends and Jews and so on and so forth. Whenever you come to the States, give me a heads up, I want to meet you. I think it was a few months later, I came to the States. The guy is based in Philadelphia. I'm not telling you yet the name because this will be the pitch at the end of the story. And I come to his office. It's a 59-story building. It's like the Shin Bet, the Israeli Shin Bet. Go to the camera, put your thumb, and look at this and smile like that. So I get to his office in the 59 floor, and I get into his office. And it's a beautiful office, but very modest, and he has 2 certificates on the wall. One is that he's graduate of MIT in excellence, and the other one is the certificate of the Maccabiah. He won the gold medal in squash and masters. So I told him, Brian, I'm sure that you made it for me to impress me. He said, no, this is my passion. These are the 2 milestones in my life. Then we sit in the room, and the guy said, I want to thank you for what you have done for me and my family. I was thinking to myself, what did I do for him that I didn't do for another 6,000 athletes at that time? And he saw that, I don't see the point. And he said, I want to tell you the story. During the Maccabiah, you organized a bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah to the athletes. At that time, 6,000 athletes had a bar mitzvah at the Kotel. Okay? And his daughter called him. She used to play junior squash. She called, Dad, this is the highlight of the Maccabiah for me. He said, how about the opening ceremony, which was very exciting. And she said, the opening ceremony was great, but this is something very emotional. So he has another 2 sons that didn't play. They came with the mother as guests. And they told him, we want to have also kind of a ceremony. They said, okay, we stay after the Maccabiah for 2-3 days. They have their own private jet, and we'll arrange it. So to make it fast forward, they come back to the States, they return to Philadelphia, and his wife tell him, let's get to the Reform congregation to be members over there. So then I started real life. So he told me, now I have to tell you the story. My wife is not Jewish. We raised our 3 kids in a very liberal way. In Hanukkah, we had the tree and we had the Chanukiah. We never imposed and never forced to go one place or another. And he said that what you have done for my family, in 2 weeks, change them, their Jewish heritage, and to be part of the community, I couldn't do with my multi-billion company. This guy is the owner of Comcast.
Wow.
He said, what you have done for my family, I couldn't do with any of my means. So I said, how can I help you? I said, how can you help me? This is the 1 million question. He was very generous. He helped us very meaningfully, and we were able to bring many more kids to the Maccabiah from different countries. And this is the essence of the Maccabiah. You come as an athlete, and you return as Jewish guy with great pride about your homeland, about your history, about your heritage. You make new friends. To be surrounded by 10,000 Jews for 2.5 weeks, and then John will go through this transformation. It's a life experience, and you will witness it because you will be our guest at the opening ceremony of the games, which will be on July 10th, Thursday evening, in Teddy Stadium in Jerusalem. 30,000 guests from all over the world. 10,000 athletes, a special ceremony, and this Maccabiah, it will be even more emotional because we are going to combine, the wounded soldiers. Yeah, we are going to have a special mission of the wounded soldiers, not only marching in the opening, but also participating in the competitions in the Paralympic category.
Oh.
So you'll see amputated soldiers, legs or hands or whatever it is, but it will be very emotional. Also, we lost 15 members of Maccabi, soldiers who got killed in Gaza. Yeah? So we are going to make commemoration and events and so on and so forth. So it will be a very emotional event. On one end, celebrating the Maccabiah, the games, to show that Israel returns to normalcy. On the other end, to show the unity, the solidarity, the resilience of the country, make sure that, we get back to normal life as much as possible, with the hope that the hostages will be until then back to Israel. I want to tell you another little story, because otherwise my wife will kill me afterwards. Half a year ago, I was invited to an event in New York. I was in New York. I wasn't invited especially to an event by my friend, and he didn't tell me what it's all about. He just told me, what are you doing tomorrow evening? I said, every meeting is always running from one meeting to another to spread the word. Try to get my victims involved in the Maccabiah. And said, I'm going to cancel anything here. I just want to be with you. So he invited 12 wounded soldiers that were amputated legs or hands for special treatment in NYU Medical Center, because the orthopedic department has a special device for prosthesis. Usually the prosthesis, the regular one is like, how you call it, Tzva? Tzva.
It's a claw. It's a claw.
Melkachayim.
Claw.
Yeah, but they invented, prosthesis with the full hand, and it's connected to sensors to the muscle cells. Then you can play and feel everything. So the 12 soldiers over there are sitting, and my friend asked them to introduce them to understand, what about everyone. So one is saying, I'm 19 years old, I'm in this unit, I was in Gaza, and I was trapped by terrorists, and they sent the Gilad, and so on and so forth. So everyone is telling his story, but very little, because they were still, it was very fresh. It was like few months after the injury. Amongst them, there is an older guy who was in a permanent service, and the guy tells about himself, about his family, about his passion, about interest. And then I asked him, what happened to you? He's amputated, right hand, and he lost his eye. So he said, really, you want to know? I said, I want to know, because I saw he's older than the others. So he was in a permanent service already, and he was captain in the armor, of the tanks. So they entered Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis is one of the cities in Gaza. And when they entered, he had like 12 tanks behind him. And all of a sudden he saw a group of terrorists, trying to surround them. So he stopped the whole team, went out of the tank and started throwing grenades on the terrorists. And one of the grenades returned towards the tank, and he jumped on it to save his teammates, and he lost his hand and he lost his eyesight. So the guy said, I came over here to get the new prosthesis because I want to be ready for the next part of the war in the north. It was September. In October, we entered in the north. So I said to myself, the guy, sacrificed already his life, and now he's talking now about the second war. He wants to be also to lead his team. So I told him, Asa, when you come back to Israel, I want to invite you to Shabbat dinner to be with my family because I feel that, you're something that I want to convey your story to others to understand the Z generation of Israel, which we always thought that they are, the TikTok or the Instagram generation, but no, they are heroes. Because of them, we are able to continue our lives. So he came over on Shabbat, and I had my family. Thank God I have 3 daughters, 3 son-in-laws. How many grandchildren you have? Between my wife and myself, we have 9 grandchildren. And
That's pretty good for 27.
the oldest one are in the Air Force. The little one, as I said, was born in October 7th. And he sits and he does not have his arm and took the prosthesis because it's still new. He doesn't like to, he's not used to it yet. So the kids, started to ask him what happened. And, he's very, very modest, very shy. Eventually, he told them in short the story. My granddaughter, who is in the 4th grade, came the next day to the school and she told to the teacher, I want to tell you something about my Shabbat dinner with the family. And she told the story. It affected everyone. That's what I wanted to say. But fast forward, a month ago, there is a break news. There is a terror attack in the southern part of Tel Aviv, in Nahalat Binyamin. And a Moroccan-American Muslim guy came over to Israel. After a day, he took a knife, he went in the southern part of Tel Aviv, started stabbing, people over there. And in the news, they say, one of the captains that was over there was running after him and caught him and, stopped him. And in Israel now, they don't mention names of soldiers because, the Supreme Court of Hague, every soldier that becomes a criminal.
Right.
So they don't mention names anymore. They don't show faces. So I sent the WhatsApp, Asa, are you okay? He said, yeah, I'm okay. I said, where are you? So he said, I'm still in the hospital. So I understood that this is the guy that was there. He came to the next Shabbat to our house. And he said, I was sitting over there in a coffee shop. He's still, in a very demanding course in the army. They had leave of absence for a day. He went to a coffee shop, and the terrorists came over with a stab behind him and started stabbing him and his friends. So he was the first one, to recover, was running after the terrorist, and with his prosthesis, he gave him, he beaten him, and the terrorist fell down, and then, the other people were able to capture him. But just to tell you a story about our youngsters, this generation, we should be proud of them. You should be proud that, we have these people who are heavily committed to the country and they do everything, and we are grateful for that. So I told you about the situation. I told you a little bit about my family. Did I forget anything?
Do people have questions for you?
Yeah. I told you about the Maccabiah. You'll be amazed to see, people from all over the world. You'll be able to express your foreign languages, 28 different languages in the Maccabiah. Will be a great event. And you mentioned the gala evening. A day before the opening ceremony, we have special event for our VIPs, 500 VIPs in the National Theater of Jerusalem, under the auspices of the president. And it will be a very, very special evening. So the content, I leave it as a surprise for the event itself, otherwise you don't have to come.
What's the dress code?
Dress code, casual. It's 40 degrees in Israel that time, probably like in California. So jacket, tie, not suit, not tuxedo, not anything. Come and feel free about it. Before you have any questions, I want to invite my friend Ben, who was a national soccer player in Israel, for many years, and then come on a scholarship to the States, just to study for PhD for a few years, and the rest is history. How many years you are here? 35, but he's a great ambassador. And Ben participated also in the Maccabiah in different positions. Can you say a few words about your experience?
Thank you, Eyal. It's a very tough act to talk after Eyal because he said already everything. Nothing left for me to say, but I will. And I think we are, after us is the food, correct?
No, we still got another hour of davening. Okay, we got 15 minutes, but.
The food is after me, so I'll make it very short. Anyway, so I was a professional soccer player in Israel. I was in the national team. I came here recruited by CW Postdoc Manning University on a scholarship, played the whole scholarship, became a chiropractor, came to California, opened a vocational schools, and that's what I have right now. So for 35 years, I'm thinking all the time, about Israel, and I have guilt, why I left and everything, and I have a wife and 3 kids, and I think all the time, what should I do? How can I instill in them the love to Israel? And then I met Eyal, and he said, hey, you're an athlete, why you don't get involved in the Maccabiah? I said, wow, that's a great idea. And I start going to the Maccabiah, and I'm going religiously every 4 years, and I take the family with me to the Maccabiah. And I want to tell you something, even that I'm Israeli, that grew up in Israel and living in the United States, it's connected me back to Israel. It's connected me to sport. You get goosebumps when you get to the stadium and you have like 40,000 people and all Jews and 10,000 athletes and then you sing the Tikva, and I look at my kids and I see their eyes, and I really, through the Maccabiahs, I connected my kids to Israel. And one of my kids is working in the Israeli embassy he worked for Mike Herzog, and now it's a Leiter, and she works and she feels like it's a mission for her. My son is working in a startup and he's working with Israel. And my daughter, and I'm a little bragging here, got accepted to UCLA and Berkeley Engineering and also to Duke. And the first thing she's asking, do they have Hillel? Do they have Chabad? So through the Maccabiah, I succeeded to connect my kids to Israel. And I can tell you just from, my point of view, there is, when you're living life, you have a couple of moments that you remember all your life. So I want to tell you the moments that I have from the Maccabiah. One is the stadium. When you enter the stadium and you have these 40,000 people and you hear the tikva, and I'm telling you, this is one of the moments you will never forget. There's another moment in the Maccabiah. I don't know if you will do it this year, but you have a show in Jerusalem at night on the wall, a digital show. I'm telling you, this is Jerusalem, the stars, you close to God, local phone call, and you see this digital history of Israel on the wall at night with like another few thousand Jews. Unbelievable. Another thing that I want to tell you is when we're going with Eyal, we're going also army bases, so we're meeting soldiers and commanders and things like that. That's exciting to see that, Israelis and Jews are not anymore, that we're fighting for survival. That's very exciting. So Maccabiah gave me a couple of moments that unbelievable, but the key thing is connecting my family and my kids that grew up in the United States to Israel. Also, I want to tell you something very important to those of you who are going. You are supporting Israel. This is unbelievable. Israel needs the tourism now. Israel needs your support. Israel needs to see Jews are coming. We need to get our confidence back, our self-esteem back. This is so important. You're doing a mitzvah, and thanks to the rabbi that bring your group, this is a good cause, okay? And you will never forget this experience. This is one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm voting for that. Thank you.
So after your speech, it's difficult to any questions about Israel, about the Maccabiah, about the summer, about the trip, please.
I had a question about Israel. Online, I see a lot of men in the army saying that they don't have enough equipment, they don't have the right helmets. Is this true?
I'll tell you what happened. First of all, the budget of the Ministry of Defense is the biggest in Israel. It's, $40 billion. This is the largest budget of any of the ministerial offices. What happened on October 7th, we were surprised, unfortunately. And in one day, we recruited to the army 500,000 Israelis, for reserve. Usually in a normal time, you get 20,000, 40,000. So in one shot, to get 500,000 Israelis into the army, we didn't have enough equipment. Yeah, if we would have time, it would be differently. So therefore, we were missing some of the equipment. The vest, how you call the
Armor vest.
The armor vest, the special glasses over there, and luckily we have great Jewish communities around the world, especially in the States, that they supported the army at that time. So it took us 2 months to get into a normal situation. Even with the ammunition, we weren't ready, to fight all over for such an extensive situation. My son-in-law, who serves in an elite unit of the paratrooper in a reserve, he came to us and said, we need special bags, for the equipment, and we have old ones. And, if we go to Gaza and it's not, fit us, it will be very difficult. So my wife took over and, amongst our friends, we were able to help to get them, new bags, especially for the time. So it really was the situation, and we never had such a long war. It's over a year, fighting, and unfortunately, we had some obstacles on the way. Boycott, don't get this, don't get that, don't fight here, don't fight there. So we felt like we are the only country in the world that are not able to win a war. Yeah, that's what we felt. Don't do this, do this. Bring the humanitarian assistance, do more and do more. But thank God everything is okay. The army now, the equipment, everything is in place. We hope we won't have another surprise in the future. We will not let it be, and we'll continue move forward. But what happened all of a sudden, we have now 18,000 wounded soldiers that need support. Yeah, we need to build now new rehabilitation centers. You know, after 2 months, 3 months in the hospital, in the rehab department, you go out and then you need to go to rehabilitation. So we find ourselves also helping, you know, organization in rebuilding new centers for the soldiers. Hospitals, you know, need more support. Also, FIDF probably you are involved with this in one way or another. Yeah, we need the support. We have to recover the south of Israel. You know, the government now allocated $5 billion to rebuild the southern part of Israel. You know, the Gaza Strip. If you ask me if it's enough, no, it's not enough. In Nir Oz, yeah, it was almost burned, the entire kibbutz, yeah? So government allocated yesterday 315 million shekels, which is like $100 million. It's not enough. But, you know, we have limited budget, so any support that comes from the States or from any Western country is helpful to our efforts, you know, to rebuild these places.
What is the best way to contribute to that?
By giving to your local synagogue.
But, you know, don't laugh, you know. On October 7th, on October 8th, when I got a telephone call from the CEO of the hospital in Haifa, that, you know, was the only hospital that had at that time rehab department to treat the soldiers who got injured in the south but live in the north. So they moved into the rehab, and we said we need to buy equipment because they didn't have that much equipment. So I called the rabbi, and he spoke. It was domestic or long distance.
From my house, it's local.
And thanks to Rabbi and Ben and other friends, we were able to raise a very substantial amount, and we furnished the hospital with the medical devices, and today, thank God, they are, you know, have everything they need in order to treat the wounded soldiers. And, you know, I got involved in another organization of the orphan kids. You know, unfortunately, in the last war, 900 new orphans are around, and we have to take care of them. Yeah, to be an orphan at the age of, you know, childhood, it's a trauma. Not only the mother is in trauma, but the kid, and, you know, you have to support him. So I'm now involved with an organization called Sunflowers that deal with, you know, the orphans of the war, and prior to the war, you know, that became orphans. And we do, every Israeli is doing now his utmost to help any organization just to make sure that the whole society will be together, will be united, and this is part of the resilience of the country. So if you wish to help anyone who wish to help, you know, Rabbi Bentley is the right person to talk about it. And I'm sure that once you'll be in Israel, you'll appreciate what you have done for the country throughout the war. You see, strong country, not yet a happy country, but country that is in a process of recovering, and that's what we ought to do. Please.
What is your opinion as to what's happening as far as the future with the war? How is Israel, I know how they're doing to date, what are you projecting going forward?
As I said, we became very proactive now in the various borders. You know, you see what happened in Syria. Once the regime tear apart, Israel started attacking, you know, all the bases over there to ensure that we destroy all the ammunitions, all the aircrafts, all the artillery, everything to make sure that the new regime will not have an idea, start attacking us. In Gaza, the Hamas started build the infrastructure, we destroyed it. You know, in Yemen, in the Houthim in Yemen, you know, the US said, you know, let us deal with that. So they are doing the job. In the north, we have a ceasefire, so-called, but every move of the terrorists, we attack them. So we're feeling that, you know, the region is changed now. Yeah? If they had a dream to attack Israel from Gaza in the north and Iran all together, it won't happen anymore. Yeah? Because they don't have the ability, and we are very alert now. So, and I didn't mention Judea and Samaria, you know, which is also a very turmoil region. But my feeling that, you know, the countries will respect Israel now, and they will not think twice. They will not do anything because they know how we can retaliate. So, as I mentioned before, the security situation in Israel is now much better than in the last 50 years, and it will continue to be the same. That's my wishful thinking and my feeling. Please,
Thank you.
So you don't,
ladies first.
okay. I was just curious about Turkey, Erdogan. What's going on there? Is he coming into Syria?
He's a madman, you know, and he has an aspiration like Napoleon. He wants to dominate the region. But Israel, you know, gave him lesson yesterday. He wanted to get into Hama. This is one of the Air Force bases in Syria that he wanted to take over. We destroyed it the other day, so he doesn't have a place to do. But, you know, we have to take, you know, to pay attention to his moves in the region, and will be proactive, as I mentioned. Please.
Is there any chances of Israel annexing Judea and Samaria?
This is a very delicate situation, you know. If you ask Trump, he will say, you know,
Yeah.
get it in. If you ask Biden, he will tell you something else. So Israel has to consider how to do it in a proper way. You know, we have the Otzma Yehudit, Tzionut Datit, we have Ben Gvir, we have Smotrich. This is the dream, you know, to annex the Judea and Samaria. For the time being, we keep the status. The status quo, as we say.
Yes.
Please.
There was a report by, I believe it's Israeli Controller General, I think. I don't know if you're familiar, but the report is from June 23. So it's before the October 7th, and it was just made public. I don't know if you're familiar. And the point of, there are a lot of things in the report, but one thing was that they checked the condition of the northern border, defense of the northern border, and according to that report, it was very poor. So the conclusion of that report is that had Hezbollah attacked on October 7th, it could have been even more tragic than what we have experienced. I don't know if you heard about that report or you have any opinion on that. I mean, if there's any silver lining on October
I would
7th.
say we didn't have to read this report. We realized that if at the same time Hezbollah would attack also Israel and Iran would send some rockets to Israel, the situation would be complicated. Don't want to go that far, but you know, we could find them in Haifa and in Beersheba and in Tel Aviv.
Any other questions? You can ask more questions when you come to Israel. And you're at a gala, at a party with Eyal at the National Theater.
Absolutely. But you'll visit the southern part of Israel and the north, and you'll see the beauty of the country. You'll enjoy Israel. How many of you haven't been in Israel before going now? You won't believe how friendly is the country. Yeah? I'm sure that here, yeah, you don't know many of your neighbors in the next house. Yeah? You don't know the name, you don't know even the family name. I can tell you in Israel, after 5 minutes, they know everything about you, and you know everything about them. Israel is a very friendly country. You know, the Israelis are embracing, each other, and especially the guests from abroad. So you feel very comfortable in Israel. You will enjoy it. It will be 2 weeks of experience, a lifetime experience. So you'll enjoy it, I promise you, and we'll see you in Israel. Thank you very much.